The cacao tree originates in the tropical forests of South America. Its fruits, called pods, contain seeds, cocoa beans. Around the end of the 4th millennium BCE, representatives of the Mayo-Chinchipe culture domesticate this plant. Later, cocoa beans begin to spread along trade routes and reach the Pacific coast, where they are used by the Valdivia culture to prepare a beverage. From there, the plant continues its journey northward into Mesoamerica. Here it is domesticated again, and cocoa beans become a key element in the Olmec culture, although their exact role and methods of consumption remain a mystery. Nevertheless, cocoa quickly spreads among the Maya. They sun-dry the beans, roast them, then grind them on a hot stone slab to make cocoa paste. This paste is mixed with water, corn, flour, and sometimes chili or vanilla is added. The result is a sacred drink consumed during religious rituals and celebrations. Cocoa beans are so highly valued that they even become a form of currency. The Aztecs consider cocoa beans a gift from the gods. However, due to the arid climate and high altitude, the cacao tree does not grow in their territories, so the beans have to be imported. They are rare and expensive, accessible mainly to the nobility. The Aztecs prepare a cold, bitter, and spicy drink called chocolatl, which translates as bitter water. This invigorating drink becomes especially popular among warriors before battle. During the conquest of the Aztecs, Europeans impose a tax in the form of cocoa beans in regions where the climate allows the tree to grow. In 1492, Christopher Columbus arrives in America. During his travels, he acquires cocoa beans but fails to understand their value. It is only in 1519, when Hernan Cortés first visits the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan, that Europeans begin to realize the importance of chocolatl, later translated into Spanish as chocolate. After the conquest of the Aztec Empire, cocoa beans begin to be imported into Europe. At first, the Spanish dislike the bitter taste of the drink, but someone has the idea to sweeten it with sugar, cinnamon, or honey. Hot chocolate becomes a symbol of luxury, available only to the aristocracy. Meanwhile, doctors and apothecaries begin using cocoa for medicinal purposes. By the end of the 15th century, religious conflicts between Catholics and Protestants erupt in the Spanish Netherlands, leading to the formation of the independent Republic of the United Provinces. Protestant and Jewish merchants from Antwerp relocate to Amsterdam, where they establish companies that gain dominance in the Indian Ocean. They begin trading in America without Spain's permission, purchasing cocoa from local populations on the island of Curaçao. The Dutch become leaders in the cocoa market because the cacao tree is difficult to cultivate, and other European powers prefer simpler crops like sugarcane, coffee, and tobacco. In Europe, the Industrial Revolution facilitates the creation of new mechanical mills, making cocoa paste production more efficient. In 1828, Dutchman Conrad van Houten invents the hydraulic press, which extracts all the fat from cocoa beans. This results in cocoa butter. He then treats the remaining powder with alkali salts to make it dissolve better in water or milk. In 1847, the company Fry and Sons creates the first solid chocolate bar by combining cocoa powder, cocoa butter, and sugar. In 1857, Swiss pharmacist Jean Neuhaus comes up with the idea of coating bitter medicines with chocolate. Later, his descendants replaced the medicine with cream, inventing pralines. In Germany, the company Jordan and Timaeus sells semi-solid chocolate made with donkey's milk starting in 1839. In 1875, Swiss chocolatier Daniel Peter improves the recipe by replacing donkey's milk with powdered milk, invented by his compatriot Henri Nestlé. Milk chocolate becomes incredibly popular. 4 years later, Rudolf Lindt accidentally discovers a method for making smoother and creamier cocoa paste. Demand for cocoa in Europe and the US grows rapidly. Latin America struggles to meet this demand as Venezuela and Brazil gradually abandon the finicky crop in favor of coffee and rubber. Ecuador becomes the largest cocoa producer, but Europeans have already introduced the cacao tree to tropical Africa, where its cultivation expands quickly. First in the Portuguese colony of São Tomé, then in British Gold Coast, Ghana, and finally in French West Africa, Côte d'Ivoire. In 1936, Nestlé invents white chocolate by excluding cocoa powder from the recipe. During World War II, the US includes chocolate bars in soldiers' rations. After the war, cocoa production rises again in Brazil, while in Africa, Ghana, Cameroon, Côte d'Ivoire, and Nigeria focus on cocoa cultivation after gaining independence. Global production increases and prices drop. Producers attempt to coordinate policies to maintain high prices but fail, especially with the emergence of competitors from Asia, such as Malaysia and Indonesia. Today, about 70% of global cocoa production comes from Africa, led by Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana. These countries are often criticized for using child labor on plantations. The US is the largest importer of chocolate, while the highest per capita consumption is found in Switzerland, Austria, and Germany. Of the $115 billion that makes up the global chocolate market,